Grog.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Starter Shed podcast. I'm Matthew Weir. I'm joined by Keri Warbis. Keri, I'm feeling a bit Groundhog Badger Day. No, hang on. Ground Badger Day. Because this is the fourth time you and I have sat down to speak about the Archers this week. We did a Patreon episode to cover Sundays and Mondays episodes. As it happened, we recorded the rest of the podcast last night, and then I just kind of didn't quite turn my microphone on.
Bless you. Yeah, we've had to bin off everything we did last night. So the hot takes we had are going to be sort of lukewarm today. Or they might be even better, to be honest.
They'll be better because luckily, due to massive years of overindulgence, I can't remember anything that I said on the pod yesterday.
Yeah, good. Let's pretend that never happened. Go.
It's been a massive week. I'm sure everyone's fully aware of that. And we felt that we had to put those episodes out early because we just needed, Keri and I almost needed to react to each other about what had happened. And I think there's a lot of people who are out there in the Archers listening community needed it as well. Because you don't know, maybe not everyone's on Twitter or in any of the Facebook groups or on Reddit, etc. And then I think it really kind of helped a lot of people out. We got some lovely praise for that. So we will address Sunday, Monday a little bit. And we've also got our take on the rest of the week. And unprecedented, we're going to pause, then listen to Friday's episode, and then come back.
Yeah.
So that's going to be quite, you're with us on a first-time experience. It's like going in a rocket to Mars.
Is it? Christ, you think you've oversold that, love? What I was going to say, I was going to add, it's like going on some sort of pedal car to the corner shop. I was going to say, though, if you do want to listen to those 2 Patreon episodes that we did, that were immediate responses to the crash and the after crash, then join in. It's only a couple of quid a month. Don't be afraid. Might be worth it. I'm not a very good saleswoman, but I thought I'd say that.
No,
don't say no.
I don't mean no, you're not.
No, she isn't. No.
Okay, let's take a little break, and when we come back, we'll have a kind of an extended trailer for people to show them what they might have missed from the Sunday, Monday episode.
Hello there, it's me again. Welcome to my new feature, vodka-Bridges with Bartleby. Each episode will be taking an in-depth look at one of Ambridge's rural river crossings. First up, ewe.Bridge, a rather tired-looking overpass constructed entirely of logs. ewe.Bridge can only handle very, very slow traffic on account of it being so wooden. Oh, and its slightly poor design is often attributed to its designer and namesake having been up all night doing Charlie the night before building it.
There's so many questions, Matthew. Questions.
It sounded like 2 cars went into the river. Did you not hear? There was like a splash before.
No, I didn't think that. I thought there was an impact.
I thought I heard a splash at 12:10.
I think. You've written it all down. Because Joy said, she was in here buying a lovely bottle of fizz, most expensive one. And he said, someone's in for a treat, me knowing it's him.
She was in here. She bought a pack of clothes pegs, some lubricant.
Yeah, the massive marrow.
Zip ties, some gaffer tape.
Your mother would be ashamed of you. Well done, Brian.
That was the tipping point, wasn't it? Do you think Alistair will take the nibbles that she left on the counter because they're paid for?
Yeah, to the hotel swimming pool.
Yeah, I think I'll have those. So are they going to be coming like on their way to the hotel and Denise is going to have to jump out of the car and rescue George and Alice? Or maybe both of them, yeah. Well, why were you in a car with Alistair?
Yep.
With a suitcase full of dildos.
I don't think George and Alice's car is in the water. Basically, what my interpretation was, Alice was trying to get out of the vehicle because she was going to throw up. So we don't actually know whether she did get out of the vehicle, and maybe they swerved because she was in the road. Or she was opening the door and George reached over to try to stop her from exiting the vehicle, and in him leaning, he swerved towards an oncoming vehicle, which then hit the bridge. Do you think George will try to pretend that Alice was driving? I think the next scene could be him shoving her over to the driver's seat and him legging it. He did leave that voice message on his dad's phone.
I mean, she is his aunt. Shall I enter the Badger, Carter, Horrobin wormhole here?
Family tree. In sensible world, should he have rung someone and gone, Alice seems to be in a coma in the car?
Yeah. When you say sensible world, do you mean not in the Archers?
Yeah.
It's always the village shop that gets it as well, isn't it? In Alice's rage. The tea shop never gets it. The Bull, Lower Loxley, they always come out unscathed.
Joy said she was seeing angelic sister that night. Is she actually seeing an angelic sister in heaven? Was she in a vehicle?
I like the way Alice just completely wrote off the gig. She was like, I don't think we have the same taste in music, Joy.
I haven't even been to do this yet.
But you are wearing a Shawadi Wadi t-shirt, Joy, so I don't think I want to go.
Or it could be the Gills in their Range Rover.
Well, they'd be able to breathe underwater. They'd be fine.
Yeah, silly me. You raised a very good point, Matthew, which was the length of time between the sort of crashy noises and the teetering on the bridge to the splash in the water. So I haven't timed it accurately. However, I did look up a person dropping for 3 seconds falls 44.1 metres, which is 144 feet and 8 inches. If it's 4 seconds, a person would fall 78.4 metres, which is 257 feet and 2 inches.
Badger!
Am I on the right podcast? Rex is going to be coming home after a stressful weekend with his father going, okay, just can't wait to put my feet up on the butt. And then he'll look, and it's like Titanic. It's in half.
There's 2 cars on top of it. It's exciting, isn't it? At last. Hey, Matthew, what we ought to do, what we could do, is after every Archers episode, do a little podcast about the episode we've just heard.
I thought about that.
Instead of doing a big fat one at the end of the week.
I think one week as a special, we should do that and just put it up on Patreon. Just have an immediate after episode reaction. We could do that.
Yeah. So excited about tonight's episode then. Will George be shoving her into the driver's seat? Will he do the right thing and try and rescue whoever's in the river?
Yes. Well, we'll be back for patrons tomorrow, I think, Kerry, won't we?
We will indeed, for a sort of more normal midweeker.
I doubt that.
Well, yeah, silly thing to say.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Side Shed podcast. We're here again in a mini bonus episode to help you guys cope. Kerry, I did ask, where were you when you listened to it?
I was in my kitchen and I was doing the tweet along. It was very intense, particularly when Fallon was trapped in the vehicle and was banging on the window and going, Harrison.
If you have that fear of panic, you know, like when you pull the flush and the water starts coming up and it doesn't stop.
Was that the sound effect that they used?
Well, she still can't say Alistair's name right, even in a massive emergency.
And she was remarkably jolly straight afterwards and purring at Alistair about what a hero he was.
Yeah. Do you know when I really fancy you? When you're soaking wet with a headlamp on.
Oh, yes. Your head torch.
It's a pretty specific kink, isn't it?
I love the chaos it's causing. On Twitter, which is where I live, I don't know what Facebook is like, but we've got people thinking there were 3 cars, that Fallon wasn't even in one of the cars, that George wasn't driving, that Alice was out of the car, that Alistair and Denise were on foot. People clueless that George put Alice in the driver's seat.
Listening with hindsight, as Mick is kind of struggling for breath, he does actually say, Fa, because you can tell he's going to say Fallon. Initially, I thought he was wading back into the car because he'd left a Victoria sponge in there. It was a bit of a shock, though, wasn't it, when he said Fallon? Because you knew that Joy was touting that ticket around to Angelic Sister.
Oh, yeah.
So obviously Fallon decided to go with her with the whole kind of music dross connection kind of thing.
Yeah, I hadn't even actually fathomed that she was going to the gig with her, because I was thinking, well, Mick didn't want to go to the gig, but he was in the car. I thought they were just giving Fallon a lift home or something.
Yeah, the chronology of it is such, because Alistair handily explained everything, didn't he? He was like, and then I swerved, and then Fallon was like, and then it clipped Mick's car, and Alistair went, and that sent you into the river.
Yes.
Like, yeah, she fucking knows that, mate.
I reckon he might delete the voicemail from Will's phone. He'll get his hands on the phone, and Will, he mentioned fairly recently that he's no good with his phone. He's got a conscience until he's shoving Alice into the driver's seat, which I presume he's only doing that because he's over the limit himself, possibly, because he perhaps didn't only have one fruit cider. Or I guess he's possibly not insured to drive the car.
Kate said, thank you for the extra episode. Woke up on Tuesday morning in Australia, listened to everything, and I'm still lying here stunned by Keri's powers of prognostication. Matthew, I think Keri now wears the crown.
I don't know about that. I just happen to have got two things right quite close together. It won't happen again for about a year.
Louise said, how is he going to explain why he was at the scene? He can't claim he was in the car with Alice driving, because you wouldn't get in a car with someone in that state. And she is one of many who have suggested new Robert's Ring doorbell campaign might be the key here.
That's a good shout, isn't it? Very good.
She says she's waiting for more predictions from you, Nina. Got any more?
I have a feeling that George will just confess. It'll all be too much for even him. There was talk on Twitter that she might miscarry.
She gets quite giddy in rivers, though, Fallon, because that time she went swimming in the Perch with Harrison when they went wild swimming, she was like, your head, you look like Ken Dodd and his Diddy men. And then this time she like pulled from a car in a near-death experience. She went, oh, you've got a torch on your head, Alistair.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, okay, all right.
You've got your head torch on.
Have you been on the quiches, Fallon? The regret. Alistair, like, he hit the top of the car, didn't he? Like, damn it, when he realised he could have stopped her buying the vodka.
Yeah, because he said, oh, she bought that in the shop earlier today. And you could hear George go, oh, did she? Like, he was glad that Alistair knew that.
Alistair mentioned his legs were like jelly, and Denise had said earlier that she's got a massive penchant for custard. So is she going to put custard all over Alistair's jelly legs and lick them?
It was surprising that no one died and there's no actual major injuries.
When you said no one died, it reminds me of that. Do you remember the pool inspector played by Steve Coogan in The Day Today?
Oh, no.
Oh, well, I would say this to you. In 1981, no one died. In 1982, no, and he keeps going. And then he labels the year someone died and then carries on with the no one died. And then he went, I could go on. And the reporter just goes, no. So thanks to everyone that got in touch. We hope you're all coping and roll on 7 o'clock, eh?
Yes.
When was the last time we were saying that about the Archers?
I know, it's exciting. I love it. Are we going to do another episode tomorrow after tonight's episode?
Who knows, Keri? Okay, so there you go. Plenty more where that came from on those Patreon episodes. So get involved. That's a microcosm compared to what went out. But we kind of felt that, you know, there were some good points made and some observations and predictions, and we didn't want to sit here and repeat them all and it not being fully from the heart. So we thought, yeah, let's put together a little highlights package. So that's all for you. Keri, so where does that leave us?
So Adam, Brian, Kate, first of all, they were at the police station, weren't they? Xander was with Helen, bit worried that Adam was there.
How does Adam's acting rate on the logometer this week?
I didn't feel annoyed, so that's quite low on the logometer. The one thing he did say that was a bit like, oh, for God's sake, which isn't his fault really, because someone wrote the words, was when he suggested that they do a rota to look after Alice, so that she would never be alone and stuff. And then Kate chipped in, being quite hard but wise at the same time, saying like, we are not qualified to do that. That's not on. Also, you can't do that, can you?
What, in terms of like divvying up who's going to look after and keep an eye on Alice? Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. I imagine they have a rota in the pizza van that is hilariously the same design as a pizza.
Who's on that rotor? Isn't it just Ian?
Yeah.
His face in the middle of it.
Yes. I just got a vision of a pizza with Ian's head on it. Head of food.
Well, hey. Well, Brian regretted what he said to Alice and was very mollycoddling, like anything that Alice wants. He tried to hug her. Alice was having none of it because she's not really forgiven him for saying your mother would be ashamed of you, which sort of kind of was the trigger for her going off to the shop to get the vodka. Joy, we found out, had a broken collarbone, and Rochelle has been to visit apparently, but Mick just missed her because she'd left before he got to see her.
Convenient, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you think she was ever there?
No.
I don't know what it's like in the UK these days, but if you have to visit someone in hospital, you have to jump through about 5 different hoops to get into the ward to see people.
You have to go at really specific times as well, most of the time, don't you? Like there are certain slots, and she would have travelled quite a way to just duck in and out.
Yeah, would you travel all that way? Because she lives up north, doesn't she, as far as we know?
Mm.
So you'd come down to the Midlands.
She lives up in heaven, Matthew. She's either dead or...
She came down in a pedal car from heaven. So whatever, she's made a long journey.
Yeah.
Her mum's been in a car accident when a car flipped over, went into the river, and she has kind of possible concussion or a bang on the head. And Rochelle's just dipped in and out and not hung around.
I mean, it might mean that she just had gone out of the hospital and might be back, I suppose. Because, yeah, Joy's got a broken collarbone.
That's because Mick forces her to headbang to Saxon every night.
The perils of listening to...
New wave of British heavy metal bands.
Yeah, it did sound like she'd buggered off rather than had nipped out of the hospital. We'll see. I mean, if she doesn't exist, can you imagine Joy going, "Ooh, you've just missed Rochelle, pet"? Going to all that effort every time of making out that she has got someone who cares about her.
It's a bit nuts on behalf of the writers if they've just thrown that in there and left it open-ended that no one saw her come and go.
Yeah.
If Rochelle visits you in hospital and no one's there to see her...
Does she make a sound?
Does she make a sound? Yeah.
Will we ever hear the bloody sound?
Yeah.
No. Alice wanted to go to the hospital to say sorry. Kate was having none of that. Not a good idea. They're in hospital because you nearly drowned them.
Yeah, it would have been a bit frosty, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but an interesting bit was that Alice recalled being in the lay-by and hearing George's voice. And that got sort of batted aside by Kate, who was insistent that, no, Alistair and George remember correctly that George was at the scene of the crash. And they know that for a fact because they weren't as drunk as you.
Yeah, Alice senses something's wrong here, though, doesn't she? Because she had
Yeah.
a process. Whenever she did this, she said she always used to go into that little lane lay-by thing. That's where she'd get hammered, put the keys in the glove box so she wouldn't think to drive the car, and then just wait till a litre of vodka wears off. That's a long old wait, isn't it?
Yeah, a week. Meanwhile, in the car, has she got snacks and sort of wet wipes and stuff?
She doesn't have snacks. She left them on the counter.
Oh, she did.
Madness.
So she just sits in this car until all of that vodka goes away. No, everyone's wondering where she is. But
it has been a real roller coaster of a week. I mean, the storyline that really chilled me to the bone was the fact that you can still get pregnant while using the coil.
Oh dear, really? Okay. Is that the in-house choice of contraception? Shay Weir.
I'm just saying.
Oi. Okay. Well, nothing's foolproof, is it? I'm not calling you a fool there, but...
As the doctor who sounded like the Count from Sesame Street pointed out.
1.
I don't believe this.
2.
How is that possible?
3.
I know it.
4.
Man United, baby girl.
5.
Oh, I nearly did in there. I quite liked his voice. His delivery of information was decidedly odd, and I didn't appreciate that he told both of them at the same time that Fallon's test had come back positive. Just that, that routine test that we did when you go, well, you're pregnant. And yes, he may have said, would you be okay with Harrison being with you when we share any information? Not that information necessarily. He doesn't know what their relationship is like. I think it's a tricky one, that. Yes, it's Harrison's baby, but it's Fallon who doesn't want babies, who is receiving this news and should be the one who decides what she does with that information, I think.
Harrison knows what he's talking about, though, because he knows that at 2 weeks gone, you should not look for a remote under the sofa cushion.
Yeah, he's read that in the Dorling Kindersley book of how to cope with being pregnant, I think.
I never get tied up in people getting fussy about pronouns at all, but the fact that he keeps saying we're pregnant, I think is... Oh, that's my surname. Bloody hell.
Yeah, you're willing it upon yourself.
I find that a bit odd.
Yeah, at first he said, because he spilled the beans to Alan because a Manchester United baby grow made him cry. And I get that, no one wants to see a Manchester United bit of merch on anyone, to be honest. But he broke down and told Alan, Fallon's pregnant. And then the sentence continued into, we're pregnant. He could not contain himself, could he?
No. He's going to lead a prayer group, isn't he, Harrison? Alan asked him to come and help out.
Was that in the midst of the charity chat?
In order to help problems in the Middle East, I think they're going to have like an hour-long prayer-a-thon.
Well, Harrison's going to sort it all out, is he? He's not solved any crimes, but he's going to solve that.
Look away now, listeners, if you don't look away. Well, you don't look away, do you? You don't look with your ears. But listen away now, listeners, if you don't like little spoilers. But next week, Alice presses self-destruct, and then on Wednesday, a familiar face returns to Ambridge. Keri has speculated off-air that that's Rob, which I think is... I mean, there's betting long and there's betting long. I don't think that's going to happen.
Is it Ian on his pizza face? Who do you think it is?
You're not going to like it.
Not Shula. Fuck off.
Well, she always comes back to the stables.
To sort her out, do you think?
She's working with people with addictions and problems and social issues, isn't she, in Sunderland? Lillian's going to need help at the stables.
Well done, Matthew. It's definitely her, isn't it?
She bloody promised that she wasn't coming back, and she's already been back once already.
Oh.
She's like a turd you can't flush.
Right. Brace then. Christ. Okay. I'm slightly in shock.
Well, I hope I'm wrong.
You're not. I think that's bang on.
We normally get a cast list. Apparently Alistair has to think on his feet as well.
Where does he normally think?
At the moment, his crotch.
Anyway, Harrison was just blabbing. Wrong time to tell anybody that you're pregnant and that you're going to be a dad and stuff. Like the instant that you find out, especially having not said to Fallon that you're going to tell anyone.
And also, he says to Fallon, I know your feelings about this, don't worry. And then he goes nuts in front of the doctor because there's no heartbeat.
That accident cost our baby, I know it. We haven't known much since we've been listening to you. And when he said, I know how you might be feeling, Fallon's response was, do you? And he just ignored that. And he went, well, we just take it a day at a time. It's like, that's not what she means.
On Thursday, we had Alice showing up with all of Martha's stuff in shopping bags.
At the playground.
Playground lovingly created by misunderstood philanthropist Philip Moss.
Oh, God. And where she smashed a vodka bottle, didn't she, once?
I'm having trouble remembering the full context other than the fact she was hammered. Oh, no, she didn't. Well, she smashed the vodka bottle in the bin, didn't she? It was symbolic. Do you remember?
It? Okay. I thought it was like where little children would be playing. Okay.
No, she was with someone, and it was this thing of like, I'm getting rid of the vodka, and now I'm smashing the bottle.
Ah.
And she smashed it in the bin. I keep thinking Kirsty was with her, but that doesn't make any sense.
Cider shed correction. It was the very forgettable Amy. Please don't let her be the returning familiar face next week.
Doesn't matter, Matthew. Nothing makes sense.
No, that's true.
Yeah, carry on. Chris is being remarkably calm in the face of Alice going, you're looking after Martha now for the foreseeable. he didn't ask any questions about where are you going to go, how long do you mean, what do you reckon, what you're going to do, are you seeking help? He didn't really quiz her on that, but just took it very much in his stride, which was unlike him, really.
Yeah, he's almost been completely rewritten in regards to Alice's drinking.
Yeah,
What did he go nuts about quite recently?
to do with Harry.
Yeah, when he found out Harry was an alcoholic
Mm.
and had been arrested. He just seems much happier now Harry's out of the picture, doesn't he?
True, yeah. So he's going to have Martha. We're not really sure where Alice is going at this point, but Chris does smell a bit of a rat with all of this story, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And there was also a bit where Paul was in the pub with Alistair and Mick. He was quizzing Alistair about where he'd been because Denise dropped him right in it, saying that they'd been on a call out. And so Alistair had to create this tale, not an animal's tail, out of the sort of serviette. Mick jumped in going, yep, it was me who called him out about a sheep.
What was it? It was an animal.
Oh, yeah.
It is the most bizarre. I thought at first Mick was going to say, I called Alistair while I was upside down in a car filling up with water. And I was like, that's not going to fly, is it? Well, it flew off the bridge, but it's not.
An animal, being really, really vague.
Yeah.
Paul quizzed a lot. I liked that bit. And Alistair horribly, happily wove this very intricate, elaborate web. And I just reckon Paul knows that he's totally lying. And he's going to flip when he finds out that not only has Alistair lied to him, but his mother has as well.
He's going to flip like Mick's Capri.
And although they haven't actually technically started the affair sexually, it's an affair. It's being duplicitous. So
Yeah, and Jazzer's there going, so have you, you know? Well, funnily enough, we weren't really in the mood after pulling people out of the river in a near-death state.
he's gutted, isn't he? And Mick as well seemed a little too at ease with making up excuses. So I'm a bit worried about Joy. And him.
Yeah, I feel like he's got previous.
Right, should we listen to the Friday episode?
Yeah, let's do that. All right, we'll have a little break.
Oh, and what have we here? It's the Brian Aldridge Bridge. With its beautiful cravatmantic pillars, the Brian Aldridge Bridge is most often used by visiting cricket teams when they're playing away from home. This bridge often found itself in high demand, compared to the nearby Macy Bridge, which no one used because it's so shit.
I know what I wanted to ask you, Keri. When Kate said we're going to be pariahs of the village again, what particular incident was she talking about? Was she talking about Alice the first time round? Was she talking about Brian poisoning the am? Was she talking about her yoga classes?
Yeah. I think it's to do with her clothing. No, I reckon it was the Brian toxic barrels thing. I would think it's, how would you come back easily from poisoning half of your countryside surroundings?
With great difficulty, unless you had such brass neck that you just carry on as if nothing happened.
Yeah, there are people like that, aren't there?
Well, Brian, yeah, certainly. He wanted his day in court, didn't he? And it buggered him.
Yeah, I do think she meant that.
So let's have a little chat about what you thought was going to happen. Lots of people thought as well that George would get hold of Will's phone, which he admitted last week he had like technophobia of, and then delete all the messages. Well, I just wonder what other messages might there have been.
Well, he seemed to be saying, I'll listen to all the messages from people asking how I am. Like, it was as if there were tons on there asking, how's George? But Will had already said that there's a stack of them prior to that, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think he was saying that Ed and Emma were messaging from their tree surgery course. I'm a bit mixed on that, because didn't Adam say he went to the tea room and Chelsea and Emma were gossiping in there about how people were feeling after the crash, and they changed the subject when he showed up?
Oh, yeah. But we heard we heard George re-listen to his own message. That was quite an interesting thing, wasn't it? Where he's confronted with that little nugget of evidence.
Now, are these messages retrievable despite deletion by George?
Yes, as far as I'm aware, the police can retrieve, just because you delete it off your device doesn't mean that the phone company or Russia or China haven't got them somehow.
Do you think the vodka and the fruity Alcopop cider have been taken as evidence?
Yeah. That's a key part, isn't it? And that bit of information, because Alice herself disclosed that she'd been told she drank loads of vodka and these fruit ciders. I think the police had told her it was when she'd come out of the police station. Then we heard Paul later in the Bull saying, oh yeah, apparently she drank loads of vodka and Alcopops. So already that word is going around the village, isn't it?
Yeah, and there was a big old sales pitch on behalf of Joy in the shop, wasn't there, last week?
Yeah.
Saying, this fruity cider is on offer, and George reluctantly bought it.
Yeah, Joy will remember that nugget. I keep saying nugget. She'll remember that piece of information.
I thought whenever you say that, I just imagine she's remembering a really good chicken McNugget she had in Carlisle in 1997.
Nugget. I can't say nugget in Geordie. Yeah, she's definitely going to remember that. And I think because she's got this, she did have a head injury. She's also broken her collarbone, as we mentioned. This is a useful tool for that to be delayed. There's going to be a point where she goes, hang on a minute. I sold George some fruity ciders, like.
As our token Geordie listener that we know of, maybe there's many more, Liam, can you just send me a DM on Twitter saying the word nugget?
Oh, yeah, thank you. I thought you were going to get him to critique my dreadful
do that as well.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. So the message is deleted, but he hasn't thought around the fruity cider, has he? Will George get to hear these rumours?
He's bound to.
Before Joy realises.
Because when Paul said something's just not right about all this, did he mean the bottle of vodka, the litre? I get it.
Yeah.
Totally fine. But fruity cider, come on.
Yeah. That's not Alice, is it? She likes only the hard stuff, which is pretty true, really, isn't it? We've now found out another section of this awful, awful story, haven't we? Because we've just listened to the Friday episode, which was crammed full. Brian was being an absolute arsehole to Jacob.
Yep, and his climb down towards the end was quite spectacular, wasn't it? I think he'd realised that he'd gone too far. What do you think of... Jacob's just the metronome in all of this. Who was most unreasonable, Kate or Brian in this situation?
Brian. Definitely. And we have heard Brian become apologetic before. He's quite good at apologies, actually, in as far as him sounding pretty genuine. But sometimes apologies are just not enough, are they? You log the behaviour that happened prior to the apology and think, you've said those words, which seemed okay, but I remember the behaviour and the words that you've been saying to me. So poor old Jacob really got it in the neck there.
As far as they're concerned, Alice nearly killed a bunch of people on the bridge, and Kate's there going, best bike!
Yeah, but her point was that he's not been a very good dad and that the reason why Alice took to the vodka was him and his words, and actually possibly the reason why she's an alcoholic could be.
Following on from a familiar face returning to Ambridge, this is how it goes. Emotions run high for one family. There's a sad goodbye for Chris. Sunday. Tensions rise at the cricket.
Oh, God. Do you think the family is the Gills that's mentioned?
Yeah, the emotions running high are the fact that the effects on Joy's brain of the accident has now gone so far as she's daubed herself in bright green body paint and is standing naked outside their house because Mick said she's gone a bit green around the gills.
Oh, God, that was a stretch.
It was, wasn't it?
Oh, dear.
Oh, I almost got cramp.
I bet, yeah. That was contorted into a tiny punchline.
That was a terrible joke in real time.
Yeah, you could hear the sort of cogs whirring and the creaking of your bones.
Well, I was just remembering that as a kid,
Mm.
one summer's evening when I was about 5 or 6,
Oh.
I went down the back lane into the Witchyard's back garden and was in their like plastic fold-up swimming pool thing. And I came back home and I was dressed only in swimming trunks and a pair of flip-flops. And on the way home, which was only all of about 50 yards, there was a skip full of green copper dust.
Oh, God.
So I did what any wet child would do in that situation.
Dived into it.
I dived in, rolled around, and then apparently my parents were sat there watching TV with the back door open. We had a long, long garden, and my dad could just see me coming.
Towards that.
And he was like, oh no. And apparently I got to the back door and went, I'm the Credible Hulk.
I mean, the existence of the Incredible Hulk does make you wonder if there was a credible one.
I like the way, yeah. I'm the
That's
Bear,
brilliant.
the Credible Hulk. My mum hosed me down in the
I
garden.
was imagining a hose being involved. I bet they went,
yeah.
stay there.
I think my mum kind of immediately donned a hazmat suit.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know. I just saw like green stuff and I'm wet and I thought I can put 2 and 2 together here.
The Credible Hulk. Oh, dear. I want to see that film.
With a skinny 5-year-old Weir in it. Oh, blimey.
In flip-flops and trunks, just marching about town, sorting stuff out.
Stars and Stripes trunks as well.
Oh, classy. Yeah, anyway, back to Brian being an absolute twat. Well, then we did move actually on to Fallon and Harrison, and Fallon being quite fine. She's like, oh, I'm all right, a bit of bleeding, some cramps. And he's like, do you want chocolate? Do you want me? He's really fussing over her. What can I get you?
Yeah, do you want chocolate? Do you want a hot water bottle? Do you want a hot chocolate water bottle?
A different husband? Yes, please. He's too fussy. He's like, it's the ick thing again, isn't it? He's doing everything wrong that will just make you be repelled by him. Sounds harsh, but that's how I'm listening to it. It's like, oh, it's making me a bit cringe. For him, really, he can't put a foot right.
I'm sitting there when Alice pops round to Fallon's.
Mm.
Can you get an Oscar for the Archers? Because I thought Fallon in that scene, or Joanna Van Kampen, was brilliant when she was like grabbing Alice and giving her real tough love.
Oh, God, yeah.
Very, very moving scene.
Yeah.
Kate said we're not professionals. Fallon sounded like a professional in that situation, didn't she? But it's all coming from the heart as well. But you're just there and I was like, oh, the bloody door latch is going to sound, isn't it? And Harrison's going to walk in and go absolutely nuts. He's going to throw his Living Planet box set across the room.
Fallon was glorious, and I felt very much for her on 2 fronts, really. The fact that Alice was there and she had to deal with that. And then Harrison's response. Yes, you're angry and everything, but think about Fallon here.
Fallon said people are looking, and then he starts yelling in the street.
Appalling. My last tweet at the end of the episode was, Harrison, for God's sake, shouting out in the street like, she was pregnant before that accident and now she's not. Well, you've literally just had a conversation about not telling anybody about that. Fallon's standing there in a vulnerable state physically. Alice is a mess. What the hell is Harrison doing?
He even turned it on Fallon as well, didn't he? Saying, so you won't talk to me,
Oh,
but you're in here cozying up with her.
yeah, what did he say? There was a funny phrase that he used. You're in it. Oh, doing kumbayas with that one.
That's like the level of sledging he's picked up from Alan, hasn't he? Alan stubs his toe and he's like, oh, kumbaya.
It's like, whoa, Harrison.
Orgasms, kumbaya.
I think, Harrison, he's probably in some kind of grieving situation here, isn't he? And maybe does need help himself after all these years of like wanting to be a dad, compromising sort of happily and thinking, no, I'm not going to be one. Then this has happened, his double miracle, as he called it. Tables have then been turned, flipped on their head. His world has it's a massive roller coaster, isn't it? It's like the low of the river, the high of being thinking he's a dad. The low of losing the baby. Venomous attack on the person he believes has caused this. Now, as a police officer, you shouldn't presume anything until full evidence is before you.
The backtracking that is going to have to be involved here when the truth outs
Oh,
is
God.
going to be unbelievable. And I don't think all of these people who want George's comeuppance are going to get exactly what they want.
Yeah.
Because I think people will say, well, why did it happen? Because he found Alice in that condition. And then the only real scandal will be that he made it look like Alice was driving. And as that's going to be offset against the heroics that he performed in the river. So this idea that George is going to be vilified, I don't think that's going to happen. There's quite a few people who said they feel a bit sorry for him. They have sympathy for him.
I have sympathy for both of them, really. She's ill, in a total mess, didn't ask to be driven to the bridge. Yes, she bought the vodka, shouldn't have done that. But she was put in that situation, wasn't she? George driving there was out of her control.
Yeah, I think the only argument is that he thought he was doing a good deed, but I'm not quite sure how well that's going to go over. I mean, just going back to Harrison as well, just is absolutely losing it. Obviously, you can't see on the radio what's happening, but what kind of subtracts from it a bit is that throughout that whole episode, he's wearing the Man United baby grow.
As a way of coping.
Can you see it?
Oh, God. Oh, that's so funny.
It's a bit tight.
Yeah. Oh, God, I had a right good thought before you said that funny thing.
I'm sorry,
What on
Keri.
earth
We had this
was it?
conversation yesterday that thoughts are like boxes in an attic, according to Conan Doyle. And if you learn too many new things, you forget the old ones.
The basics.
Yeah, so Keri has now lost something really fundamentally important and replaced it with Harrison in a Man United baby grow.
Yeah, I have. Exactly that. My attic is full. Oh, what was it? It was to do with George. What could it have possibly... Oh, yeah, I know what it was. Woo! How does your brain do that? Flicks through that little filing cabinet. It was to do... Oh, no, it's gone again. It literally has. It was to do... Oh, God, hang on.
This is incredible.
No. I shouldn't have said about the filing cabinet. It distracted me. Oh, God, what was it? It was to do with George. Ah, yes, got it. Better say it quickly. Why did he shove Alice into the driver's seat? Obviously trying to make... But, the point being, was he over the limit? Had he drunk more of the ciders than he said he had? Is it because he's not insured? Obviously, because he caused that accident, or it could look as though he caused the accident when actually it was Alice who was trying to get out of the car who caused it. What made him do that? What drove him to do that? That was my point in the dusty old filing cabinet.
Well done. Well retrieved.
Oh,
We were saying yesterday there was some doubt cast by myself over whether he actually has passed his driver's license. We know that he was able to drive the tractor.
yeah.
I thought there was some reference to the fact that he couldn't drive, but he had a tractor's license.
Was Alice in a tractor in that lay-by? Is this what we're looking at? Do tractors have glove boxes?
I don't think so.
Ah, okay.
Listeners, if you have a tractor with a glove box, please get in touch.
Other things are, does the car have a dash cam, or does Mick's Capri have a dash cam? Robert's chat about ring doorbells a couple of weeks ago, will this come into play? Will George be seen to be driving on the streets just before the bridge?
Or will the next Bartleby video just go, hello? George thought he could drive a shit-faced Alice home, but he caused a crash that nearly killed 3 people and then pulled her into the driver's seat.
Yeah. Maybe Bartleby was actually in a field nearby and witnessed the whole fucking thing, and he's going to be in court as a witness.
Maybe Bartleby was the animal that Mick called out the vets for. I've just seen a talking donkey on the... He's not a donkey, is he? He's a pony.
I don't care. One good thing that came out of this was that Denise has got some sort of illness due to the river water.
Yeah, I'm glad they actually stuck that in.
Mm.
You can actually get sick while swimming in rivers in the UK.
That Brian has polluted.
Yeah.
Is that the key to it? Or, what is the water board in that area? It'll be, all water boards are just chucking sewage into any place they can, really, aren't they? Bit of politics there.
Well, I mean, I did say yesterday on the episode that was lost that about retrieving voice messages and SMS and the fact that doesn't seem to be possible for a certain political party.
Oh, yeah. The deleted WhatsApps.
All right, Kerry, let's take a little breather and then talk about what the listeners had to say this week.
Yeah.
And finally on Borsetshire Bridges with Bartleby, Ambridge's most controversial crossing, the infamous Banana Bridge. Ambridge residents became suspicious of the company behind its construction, and sensing all was not as it seemed, they took to the Ambridge subreddit demanding answers. Indeed, this repulsive-looking bridge with its odd yellow contours was not well received by locals, not least because the company involved were accused of pumping a load of asbestos and bitumen into the waterway. The designers themselves did a runner before its unveiling, not wanting to face the music. But, being a bit dim-witted, they left their name on the underside of the walkway for all to see. Anyway, that's it for Borsetshire Bridges with Bartleby for, well, probably ever. But if you want more, you can subscribe to my newsletter.
Why would anyone subscribe to your f***ing newsletter? They can hear you say all this shit for free, and you're only a pony.
Oh, Granford Crystal, so good to see you.
Don't touch me, you ponce.
All right, Kerry, as ever, we've been mildly inundated with badger content.
Let's have a look in the badger sack.
Joe DeBank has sent us the Borough of Broxbourne Council webpage. Have a look at this.
So a whole council has a badger as their emblem. Brock is a badger, isn't it? Can I help, little badger? Hi, he's called Bob, the badger, the Broxbourne Council's digital helper. How do I log into my council tax account? A badger will tell you.
I want information about pest control. I'm not sure he's going to help you with that, mate.
Ask me a short question or state your problem in a concise sentence. Where can I park? How to request a larger bin. Nice one, Bob the badger.
Yeah, and Joe, thanks for sending that in.
Yeah, oh yes, definitely.
Someone else told you this, what Leslie Hughes sent us. Chris Packham has designed a lovely T-shirt.
Yeah, it's quite psychedelic. It's there is Chris Packham. Thank you, Leslie Hughes, for sharing this. He's looking a bit cash, Chris, holding onto an easel where the artwork is, and there on his T-shirt. It's quite nice, that, isn't it? My mum sent me this as well. Mother Warbis. He got in a river with... Oh, no, it's not him, is it? It's Bear Grylls. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Are you confusing Bear Grylls with Chris Packham?
Yes! Don't know why.
No, I don't either. Another Joe sent us this.
Oh! BBC News, badger rescue from skate bowl in Cornwall. So it's in one of those like massive big dish bowl things where skaters go whoosh, up and up the other side. There's a badger crawling up what looks like a sort of curtain or quilt cover, so it can grip in with its claws to get out of the skate park.
Thanks to Joe Graham for that.
Nice one.
Elsewhere, because of the multiple episodes that came out this week, let's have a little glance over at our Patreon and see what people had to say. Louise was saying that when she re-listened, when they mentioned pre-dinner drinks and 3 courses, is there a possibility that Alistair and Denise might have been over the limit as well?
Oh, I hope so. That adds a new dimension. Although they didn't crash into anything, did they? So, I suppose.
Davis said, I think I'm possibly the only one feeling any sympathy with George. I think there are more people out there. I mean, he's been a complete tosspot in the past with a flimsy grasp of ethics, but he hasn't yet subjected Usha to any racist attacks or poisoned the Anne. He's been an idiot here, but his intentions were good. Obviously, stopping the car is what I'd do now, I think. I don't know. I've never had the trauma of Alice in an overpowered hatchback, let alone wrapped around a bottle of vodka. George is 19. About 20 years ago, when I was 19, and he's just written, arithmetic is overrated. I don't know if I'd made a useful decision at all. This is why people aren't classified as adults until 18 and beyond. There's a functional difference in their brain. Their prefrontal cortex is still developing until they're 25, and that's responsible for reasoning, planning, judgment, and impulse control. No, really. And then you wrote, Badger?
Badger!
Question mark.
Yeah, can see that.
I mean, Liam says he feels a bit of controversial, I know, due to the responses on the Facebook group, but I sympathise with Harrison, but I appreciate I'm in the minority.
I think we can all sympathise with Harrison. I think he's not dealing with his thoughts and emotions in a very good way, really.
So we could say in a baby grow.
He's not dealing with them in the right football team's baby grow. I do feel sympathy for him.
Richard Walker said, I reckon that Harrison is going to do something stupid and lose his job. He'll start by blaming Alice for killing his baby and then completely lose it once he finds out it's George's fault. Well, he's already halfway there tonight, Richard. Joe says, what I'm hoping to hear as the investigation continues, George's alibi blown apart because everyone at the party remembers exactly when and why he was kicked out, and it would not be possible to have reached the site of the accident on foot within the time. That's a big factor, isn't it? Distance and mobile phones, etc. Sat-nav data from Alice's car showing where and for how long it was parked before being driven at speed towards the bridge.
With his mobile phone in it.
Yeah, well, there is that with
his
diagnostics,
GPS, yeah.
Isn't there? They can find out where a car has been, where it stayed for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have been done for very serious cases, including murder, because their car has basically said where they were.
Yeah.
Alice, already showing vague flashes of memory, remembering the one moment she was lucid-ish and tried to open the passenger door. Medical report on Alice showing bruising consistent with her being manhandled from driver's to passenger seat and back. And Harrison getting a hefty kick to his unfortunately functional bollocks. Nothing directly to do with Alice's case, just for being what my uncle used to describe as a thundering gobshite.
Hey, some people have also said if the passenger footwell is full of vomit.
Yeah, that's possible. But she could have projectiled.
Vomit chat.
I guess.
Michelle says, I'm sure George is going to get tripped up somewhere with all the lies he's going to have to tell. But the biggest thing to annoy me this week has been Will, and he's only been in it one day so far.
What did Will do wrong?
His voice drives me nuts.
Oh, yeah. Family. I'm just sticking these sequins on this t-shirt.
Anyway, sorry for the rant. Thanks for all the extra pods. You're welcome, Michelle.
Oh, rant away, love.
Yeah, Andrew Marchetti said, does George have a driver's license? I don't remember the episodes of him learning. Yeah, we certainly have mentioned that. Dave says, I write from the village of Aldridge because that is where I live. Those who know will know that Godfrey Baseley, the creator of the Archers, was born here in 1904. He was born in the square, apparently. I would have thought a house would have been more comfortable.
I like this person.
The square is 30 seconds from where I'm sitting right now. I know because I've carefully timed the last minute rush to the co-op to get 3 bottles of Crafty Hen for £6 before Zoe locks up. Godfrey was the son of the village badger. No, the village butcher.
Stop.
Anyway, his idea was that we needed a countryside-based cereal to rival Dick Barton. It ended up replacing it. And here we are now, sleuthing away in earnest. I think Godfrey would be very happy.
Who is this person who's written? I missed the name.
It's Dave Howard of Spaceman 3 production fame.
Oh, very fucking funny. Well written. Speaking of countryside cereals, I think Harrison was crunching on some of them. Very bloody loudly.
The double miracle Harrison kept talking about was the fact that he got the cereal and the milk into the bowl without spilling any, like he normally does.
It always splashes up off those top flakes, doesn't it?
Yeah. I remember hearing a documentary about Dick Barton. I think, what's his name, from Armstrong and Miller? Alexander Armstrong, is it? I think he did the voiceover for it. And they did say that there was a kind of a BBC Meet the Public kind of event. And some farmers stood up and said, why don't you do something for us about farming? And everyone laughed. And then they created the Archers as a result.
God, imagine living right near the birthplace of the birth of this.
If you could build a time machine and go back, it's like stopping Hitler, isn't it?
Yes! Is there any sort of memorial plaque / I don't know, stone? Anything?
Stone?
Well, you know, like a sort of...
I'm imagining the Holy Stone of Clonrickard from Father Ted now. It ends up getting shoved up one of the bishop's arses, isn't it?
Yeah, that's where this one belongs.
Jane says, I think Harrison and Fallon will split up over this. Harrison has been deluding himself that he could accept not having children. And he'll have long chats with Alan about it, get fired from his cop job for losing his rag with Alice, and then turn into Neo Shula.
Oh, Lord. Literally Lord, isn't it? I had a vision the other week that Harrison and Helen would end up together.
Yeah, you said that on air, didn't you?
I did. Yeah.
Nina said, thanks you two. This is what I call a podcast. You two have gone above and beyond. Much appreciated.
Oh.
To which Joe said, gone above and beyond? Was Mick driving again? Vivian said, you're just too good to us with this bonus episode. I still hate George. I imagine the Ferrero Rocher music playing. And she says that.
You are too good for us, Mr. Ambassador.
Francesca said, and this is why you are the ultimate Archers podcast. Thank you for this.
Christ.
Mim said, I completely misinterpreted what happened on the bridge. I thought Alice got out of the car and then Mick swerved so he didn't hit her and drove off the bridge. Also, I thought car keys in the glove box might have been an AA technique to reduce the chances of driving under the influence.
I think that's right.
Mims did also kind of change her comments about having the hots for Cranford Crystal and realising it was actually having the hots for me through a filter.
Yeah, but it was a good voice, Matthew.
Helen Davis said, amazing, thank you guys. Louise said, loving these extra episodes, and if that's the reaction I get to a yogurt pun, I can die happy now. Oh, yes. There was a very overworked story about what were we? Oh, we were talking about Alice trying to get out of the car being equal to Peter Buck from REM trying to get out of an aeroplane halfway across the Atlantic. He attacked people with yogurt.
And if you want to hear the punchline,
yes,
pay £2 a month.
Angela said, thank you for keeping this support group going during the most difficult time for us.
Oh.
Dunk said, 2 emergency episodes already. What a week of Archers. Laugh out loud at Victoria Sponge in the car and the Rochelle predictions, who had already left by Tuesday evening. Loving the bonus episodes. Thanks both. Badger. Jin said, massive thanks for your time and efforts to create and share this extra bonus content with us. Makes this week's Archers a whole lot more enjoyable. Alton Wise said, thank you for your service.
Oh, this is nice, isn't it?
Ella Wilson said, just an FYI, I've joined thanks to these extra pods for this week.
Oh, and then they're probably, bye, see you.
Then I'm off, yeah. And Rachel P said, great Archers and extra pods. What a brill week. Thanks so much, Matthew and Keri. You are welcome. Now, Keri, let's welcome our... We've got 7 new patrons, so let's give them a quick welcome in, shall we?
Yeah.
Let's give thanks, Keri, firstly to Catherine, who's come on board.
Welcoming Catherine into the Cider Shed Patreon.
Dancing like a badger, nobody's watching.
Thanks for your assistance. Please make yourself comfortable.
Welcome, Catherine. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Annie Mulroy.
Well, hello there, Annie Mulroy. Thanks so much for joining the Cider Shed Patreon.
Get this badger started.
Please accept our gratitude, and maybe a badger or 2.
Lovely. Hello, Annie.
Cheers, Annie. Andrew Miles.
Badger time.
Hey there, Andrew Miles. We're so glad to have you in the Cider Shed Patreon gang. Now just sit back and relax.
Hi, Andrew. I'm not going to try and sort of relate all these people to famous ones this time.
No, you haven't done any, have you?
No.
I mean, Andrew Miles, who would we be saying he's related to? Robert Miles, the techno house?
Yeah, there was music, isn't there? Yeah.
Cheers, Andrew. Polly McMichael.
Polly McMichael? Fancy seeing you here in the Cider Shed Patreon.
Let's badger.
Thanks so much for supporting us.
name.
Cheers, Polly. That's a great
Thanks,
name.
Polly.
We love a Mac, don't we? Mark Oldfield. Cheers, Mark.
Mike Oldfield's brother.
Or Mark Oldfield, who I went to high school with, but I don't think it's him.
Hey, Mr. Mark Oldfield. Big up yourself for joining the Cider Shed Patreon.
Badger, Mark?
We're very grateful.
You've got to do a Tubular Bells one for that, please.
I'll see what I can do. Ella Wilson.
Big shout out to Ella Wilson. Thanks for becoming a Patreon of the Cider Shed. Your support is much appreciated.
Hi, Ella.
Thank you, Ella. Thanks so much. And Chloe Richardson.
The Cider Shed Patreon is proud to announce the arrival of Chloe Richardson.
Grab yourself a badger, Chloe.
Thanks so much for getting involved, Chloe. We're so glad to have you.
Hey, Chloe. Welcome on board.
Cheers, Chloe. So that's one way of supporting us. Thanks, patrons. Thanks so much. Glad you enjoyed all the bonus content. We'll try and keep doing that for you going forward. But obviously this week it was just like, my God, we need to get something out now because this is nuts. Another way you can support us is by writing reviews.
Yes, get on the Apple review place. And you can see there are instructions on how to do this always in our show notes. So if you're not sure how to, it really helps us, gets us out there, gets other people knowing who we are. We've had 2 5-star reviews in the past week. One is from Alive703. They say, I gave up Twitter /X and have recently discovered the delights of the Cider Shed podcasts. It's made me laugh out loud. I look forward to it more than I do the actual Archers now. I really want to think of something witty to write, but I can't. So I'll just say thank you in capital letters.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you so much.
And then we have another one from Howie, and the title of this one is Brilliant! ! Listen to all the pods because the real life shenanigans in this niche world are just as entertaining as the Archers itself. The Cider Shed is the most irreverent and hilariously entertaining. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, guys. We love reading those. It's really nice, isn't it? And you do end up on our Instagram as a review tribute there eventually. You can follow us there at the Cider Shed Pod.
It does give us a real boost, I think, seeing those bits of feedback on there. So get your fingers out, everyone.
I should also say thanks to Vincent, who was in touch. He was the one that originally linked, this was on Instagram, originally linking the voice of Fallon's doctor to a vampire. Not directly the Count, but, you know, he was in the right area. I took it to one more childish step forward. But yeah, Vince is always good. He's always got some good observations.
Yeah, he DMs us, doesn't he, on Instagram? And like anyone can message us on our email address, which is in the show notes, or our Twitter account at the Sideshed Pod, or on our Instagram.
Come sliding. Rowan did the same on Instagram. She said, "Thank you for your brilliant podcast. Our family call it bread and things. I also hate the term picky tea. I first heard it 3 years ago."
Right, okay. Date stamping that one.
I think that was just date stamping as a result of me not going into the DMs recently. But now I have. Now I've made up for it. All right, Keri, we've been here a long, long time. Yeah. And I think we should let everyone take a deep breath and prepare for next week.
Oh, gosh. It's going to be interesting.
Apart from when Shula comes back.
Oh, God, I'd already bloody wiped her from my mind. Anyway, yeah, okay, we'll deal with it.
Oh, we should also say that both Keri and I are away.
Yes.
In 2 weeks' time.
I've got a trip up to Manchester with my daughter. We're seeing Girls Aloud. And Matthew, you're busy working that weekend, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm stacked out with work covering someone that week. So I think we're going to put our heads together and decide what we can do that week. Whether that just ends up being something on Patreon or not, we'll see. So just to give everyone a heads up, in 2 weeks' time.
There'll be some content, but we're not sure what shape it'll be.
There's a crisis at Casey Meets.
Is there?
Yeah, not for a few weeks, though. Do you think Freddie falls into a mincer?
No, I like Freddie. I'd forgotten all about Vince Casey, though.
There's a fair bit of Vince and Freddie.
Okay. Well, I love Freddie, so That's all right.
So we'll be back by then anyway.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Thanks for bearing with. Well, you didn't go through any of it. You don't know what we've been going through.
Anyway.
Thanks for. If this sounds a little more fragmented and frayed at the edges, it's just because we had to go around a second time. But thanks for bearing with us, and thanks for all your support. And we'll see you soon.
Love you all lots, and you, Matthew, too.
Love you too, Keri. Love you, listeners. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.